games. Oklahoma winners of 35 straight, dating back to the 2 wins over FSU last year, as Tiare Jennings leading it off here for the Sooners, of course, led by 28th-year head coach Patty Gasso. And Chris, it's been a long time since Texas Tech has been able to knock down these competitors to the north. In fact, it's been over 10 years, dating back to 2011, as Coach Ward hopes to usher in an entirely new generation to Texas Tech. She brings in the freshman righty who will face Jennings, Allo, and Hansen to lead off this top of the first inning. About 68 degrees, mild winds, and so usually we're expecting winds up in the upper 30, 40 mile an hour range that we've seen just about 10, 11 miles, so a calm wind here as Tiare Jennings, the top hitter atop this Oklahoma lineup, ahead in the count early.
Yeah, for Erna Carlin, she doesn't mind throwing a ton of pitches, well over 100 in her complete game effort to beat Kansas last week. She'll kind of paint those corners, change the eye levels, switch things up with the pitch selection, and here she is with a 2-ball, 2-strike count. It's a very important start to this game for Texas Tech.
Yeah, strong rise curve there by Carlin to even the count. 5'11" freshman sits at 61, 62 miles an hour as the 2-2 pitch just tails outside, says home plate umpire Troy Kokendall. Carlin also features a rise, screw, and a changeup, the 4-pitch arsenal for the righty, making her 11th start here in 2022. Erna picked up 2 wins last week on Friday and Saturday against Kansas, sitting at 6-2 with a 3.50 ERA. And a full count pitch to Jennings, and a swing and a miss, and Texas Tech starts this Friday as good as they could have imagined.
That's exactly what we were talking about, effectively wild. 5 pitches in the sequence prior to strike 3 swinging. 3 of them were balls, 2 of them were strikes. None of them missed the strike zone by a whole lot. Erna Carlin wants to keep these hitters guessing. First time through the order is her best bet.
We'll see how Carlin will approach, and we'll see how the entire Tech pitching staff will approach the all-time leading home run champ here in Jocelyn Allo, hitting just .513 on the season, Chris, with her 16 home runs. Had the big bash just under a month ago out in the Big Island to break Lauren Chamberlain's record. And what Coach Ward told us in our pregame chat today, Chris, was that these pitchers have to realize Oklahoma, you hit 500, that means they're going to be out half the time. So when you approach a hitter like this, and you a former pitcher, Chris, how do you go about the strike zone against Allo?
Well, you have to be very careful. You can't just try to put her on base every time she comes up, but in some situations, you might want to put her on base rather than facing her and letting her beat you with her bat.
And already an early 3-0 count to Allo, who has 33 walks on the season. And I don't think we have time to go over all of the accolades, of course, but those that don't know about the Hawaiian Super Senior, let's just say she was the USA Softball Collegiate Player of the Year a season ago, broke a single-season Big 12 record with the 34 long balls, and already a 4-0 walk to Allo will set up Oklahoma here in this first inning. Let's go over some of these Sooners bats as Kinsey Hansen comes to the plate with one of the best hitters in the conference, Taylon Snow leading the 4 spot, Grace Lyons, Jada Coleman, and then Elam, Johns, and Brito, all behind another freshman. And as you see, Erna Carlin, she's matched up against Jordy Ball, who we'll talk about in the bottom half of the inning. But Ball does not need much offense, Chris, in order to power through, coming off of a 2-0 win last Saturday against UAB. As Kinsey Hansen, the junior catcher, continues to take a different approach than we've seen. Oklahoma has been a little aggressive in the first innings the last few weeks, Chris, but they're letting Erna Carlin show them what she brings to the table first time against this freshman.
Yeah, you talk about having home field advantage, that's one thing, but the road advantage is always getting your at-bats first, the chance to set the tone. Oklahoma has often done that away from Norman this year, and a chance to do it against the young freshman Carlin, who finds the strike zone again. You don't mind giving Allo first base because she has shown time and time again throughout her college career that she can hurt you way more than a 1-out walk in a scoreless game at the top here. But these next batters important. If you're going to put Allo on, you have to throw strikes to the others, and you have to try and keep it down, let your defense work behind you.
1-1 pitch to the USA Collegiate team member as the count moves to 1-2, and Well, Jocelyn doesn't quite run. She did pick up her first steal of the season back on Wednesday in one of the wackiest box scores you will see as Oklahoma hosted Tulsa, a 9-0 5-inning. You look at it, you say, oh, they probably hit 4 home runs, a team that has only gone 6 games all year without a long ball. But that Golden Hurricane pitching staff held them to without a home run. With only 1 extra base hit, Chris, the Oklahoma Sooners were able to beat them with small ball. A couple suicide squeeze runs came in, 7 runs without a hit scored, with a couple RBI groundouts and a sac fly. As Coach Casso mentioned, well, the wind was heavy, so we decided to keep the ball on the ground. As the count 2-2, and Hansen drops the elbow, pops one out to Ariana Villa, which takes us across the defense. Chris, tell me about this Texas Tech Red Raider D.
Yeah, the outfield, it's been tough to get stuff down and around them. Peyton Jackson with great speed in left. Same for Peyton Blythe in center field. Carson Armijo may ring a bell to some Oklahoma fans. She was at UCLA last season. She's in right field. Abby Orrick, Riley Love, Ariana Villa, Ellie Bailey third to first base on the infield. And what Sammy Ward has done in her second season is bring in a veteran catcher to help this pitching staff, Molly Grumbo, a graduate transfer from Loyola Marymount.
As Taylon Snow, the redshirt junior right fielder, takes high and inside. A .508 batting average, good for 5th in the nation for Snow. He just had 1 official at-bat in the Wednesday win against a Tulsa team that Texas Tech beat a couple times last month. Erna Carlin wants the attempt, and they're going to go down to the first base umpire, DJ Postel, who says no. Snow did not go in the count 2-0, with Jason Smith also out there manning third base. There's Postel down the first base line with Jocelyn Allo occupying that first base bag, and 2 outs in the top of the first. 2-0 comes in, and you can hear it just nick a piece of the right elbow pad of Snow. So without a hit, Oklahoma now has 2 on with 2 out. And a lot on the line here today. I mean, if you're a Texas Tech player or fan, you know that this Oklahoma team is unblemished. They've beaten Texas Tech 27 straight times. Nothing like a momentum swing here in the first inning could go both ways for these teams.
Yeah, you have an opportunity here, 2 on, 2 out. Both sides have a chance to really set the tone this weekend.
Second team All-American Grace Lyons at the plate as the right-handed hitting shortstop takes a little low and inside. .422 batting average for Lyons with 13 home runs. 13 of the 83 home runs that this Sooners team has been able to produce this season through just 33 games. Now looking for a 2-out knock as Carlin's done a pretty good job, Chris, varying her zones, which is something that Coach Ward and Coach Brittany Miller, the pitching coach, who also made the move from Loyola Marymount, talked to us earlier this week about one thing that the Nevada transfer Kendall Fritz couldn't quite do the last few games, and that's what moved her away from this Friday spot. 1-1 pitch coming to Lyons, and she gets hit.
Wow.
Well, the one thing that Carlin has had trouble with this season are hit-by pitches. In fact, she hit 2 Jayhawks last weekend in her 3 outings, and without a hit, Oklahoma has the bases loaded with 2 outs for the slapping Jada Coleman.
Look, Erna Carlin this time last year was pitching to high schoolers, and now she's throwing to some of the best hitters on the planet. She's worked herself into these situations and wiggled out of it before. The task much tougher against this Oklahoma bunch, but she still has a chance without any damage in that run column to escape this first inning.
Oh, perfect backdoor curveball there by Carlin, who we won't talk too much about pitch count today. Of course, not as meaningful as it could be, but the pitch swing so far from Carlin, just 22 pitches, 10 of them strikes. Not the ratio you want here against an Oklahoma lineup, and clearly jitters have gotten to the freshman, but a quick move by the senior Grumbo keeps everyone at bay there as the count moves to 2-1. Maybe you get the nerves out really early, huh?
Yeah, Jocelyn Allo, you see her smiling down there at third base. That took a friendly bounce back to Grumbo, and I don't know if Allo would have been safe if there was a clean flip from catcher to pitcher there.
1-1 drop ball, not called, and it's 2-1 here. This is where things are going to get tight as veteran at first, and Ellie Bailey tries to encourage her freshman arm. Carlin has played against top talent. She faced Washington, went complete game in the 1-0 loss. But this is a whole nother animal. Another one gets by, but Alo stays confident in her hitter, right? That's kind of what we see there, that Jocelyn Alo not risking it out at the plate.
Yeah, especially now with the count 3-1. You see Ellie Bailey with a quick word of encouragement. Certainly nerves for Carlin. Perhaps trying to be a little too perfect. Sammy Ward praised her effective wildness. Maybe a little too wild here in this first inning.
Got to throw a strike here on 3-1. Bases juiced, and it's a 5-pitch walk. Stretches across Oklahoma's first run here. And Chris, you mentioned it. Erna Carlin, freshman. Last season, most likely, sitting on her couch watching Oklahoma and Jocelyn Alo and company win the national championship in Oklahoma City. And now she's got to get out there and shake some midweek troubles. She was battling a bit of a sickness this week. Now back out there and starting this opening night of the series as Lindsey Elam looks to really put a bash into this in the top of the first inning for Oklahoma. 1 run in on 2 walks and 2 hit by pitches. A much needed first pitch strike.
Yeah, well, you understand the walk to Alo with 1 out and the base is empty, but then you get Hansen to pop out. You see that your defense can make plays behind you. Back-to-back hit by pitch is really tough for Carlin, and you give yourself little room for error when you load the bases.
Well, if Carlin can get out of this jam, Chris, how confident are you feeling if you're Texas Tech? Because the outs have not been hard hit, a pop out and a strikeout.
Yeah, it's a small sample size first time through the order, but to limit Oklahoma to 1 run, you get to go bat against them, be feeling pretty good.
1-1 count here with 2 outs and a big swing by Elam. She had home run number 12 waiting in the wings as Oklahoma beat Texas Tech 15-0, 5-0, and 20-0 in Norman last year. An 8-2 win in Oklahoma City in the Big 12 pool play action. Just 1 lone win here in Lubbock in this matchup for Tech. But a called strike 3. So Carlin strands the bases loaded.
Texas.
Ariana Villa will lead it off for the Red Raiders as Villa has manned that number 1 spot in the lineup with Peyton Jackson and Carson Armijo behind her for all 6 of the Big 12 games for Texas Tech this season. A Red Raider team that went 3-15 in conference play last year. They're looking to match that win total here today. There's the 1-0 pitch from Ball. And Jordy Ball, Chris, we talked to the pitching coach for Oklahoma, Jennifer Rocha. She made the move over from the University of Florida after a handful of years in Gainesville, a couple national championships down there. What she told me is that Jordy Ball absolutely loves to change her directions. She is the unique freshman, Chris, that doesn't mind throwing something new out there, changing speeds, and experimenting here in the middle of the season.
Yeah, and for her, it's about getting off to a good start, as it is for Carlin and as it was for Carlin in her first inning of work. This isn't quite the gaudy numbers that we see in the Oklahoma order, but this top third, this really top 4 with what Ellie Bailey's done lately, it's been a lethal group for Texas Tech. Red Raiders scored more than 20 runs in the series against Kansas last week. Bats need to be going. Eyes need to be patient against this Oklahoma pitching staff.
And there's a tight 1-2 screwball that misses just off the outside corner by Ball. Villa has been able to walk 16 times, tops on the team, and has certainly been a good catalyst for the hot-hitting Jackson, just shy of 400 on deck. 2-2 pitch with the defense straight up, and the count runs full.
Well, if you're Ariana Villa, this is textbook leadoff hitter plate appearance so far. You kind of get to see what the arsenal is for Ball. You work the count, you make her labor a little bit, and everybody else in the dugout, including Peyton Jackson on deck, kind of gets a feel of that arm slot and what's coming.
Payoff pitch misses outside, and just the 18th walk of the season for Jordy Ball, as Texas Tech feeling like maybe they can sting right back. After being shut out in the 3-game series last season at Oklahoma, the Red Raiders have brought in a lot of new faces. Peyton Jackson only had a handful of starts last year, 8 games started, and all she's done this year, Chris, is rake. Her last 5 games, Jackson hitting just shy of 500. Now, runner at first and no outs in the first inning.
Yeah, Texas Tech, they have played so well at home at a A long winning streak snapped in that series finale against Kansas, and while Sammy Ward was happy to win that Big 12 series against the Jayhawks last weekend, she really felt like her team had what it took to sweep that series. But now at 2-4 in the Big 12, they'd love to get one this weekend against the Sooners, and it all starts with the top of this order.
Jackson a little late in the count, 0-2. Jordy Bahl comes off of a Saturday start against UAB. She went just 4 innings, allowed 3 hits, 1 run in the 11-1 run rule victory. National Gatorade Player of the Year out of Nebraska. Oh, a pass ball there will push Villa to second. Not many unforced errors for this Oklahoma defense, but they are prone to the error every once in a while. A .965 fielding percentage for the Sooners, with 24 errors committed this season. Just a touch under the .966 for Texas Tech. See if Jackson can get a productive at-bat, but a swing and a miss. Another strikeout for Bahl this year, 131, Chris.
I'm surprised you're able to keep your scorebook in front of you with how much this wind is starting to swirl around. But that's a great bounce back from Jordy Bahl. The past ball, you think maybe she'd be rattled with the red-hot Jackson at the plate, but that rise ball is such a special weapon for this freshman with 2 strikes, and Peyton Jackson falls victim to it for the first out.
Twice named Big 12 Pitcher of the Week. Most recently, the last week for Bahl, as Armijo got just a bit of that pitch. And taking a look at this confident freshman, and when you look at the 3 arms for Oklahoma this season, all 3 of them a sub-1 ERA. You've got a veteran in the transfer from North Texas with Troutwine. She leads the nation in ERA, but it's the freshman in Jordy Bahl that gets the Friday start. She's the opening day, Friday go-to pitcher for Coach Casso and company. Another 2-strike pitch comes to the UCLA transfer Armijo. Look at the frame job. Even Hansen hustling on a pitch that was inches, maybe feet out of the strike zone.
Oh, you always want to try and work on things with in a game against somebody else. And for Oklahoma, sometimes you wonder if this Sooner team gets tired of constantly beating up on competition. UAB did give them a close game last weekend, but just to see how much passion they play with, despite the fact that they haven't been challenged much, speaks volumes to what coach has built in more than 2 decades at the helm.
We talk about practicing. Surely Jordy Bahl was locked in PFPs earlier today as she's able to field her position. The one thing that the freshman didn't do there was turn around and look at Villa, who was maybe caught between second and third. And once Bahl committed to throwing it over to Elam at first, Villa takes third. So a runner at third now with 2 outs for the RBI machine. One of the most productive hitters in this Red Raider lineup in the South Carolina transfer, Ellie Bailey. She's going to stay aggressive. It's got to be something that you recommend, right? When you have an offense facing a pitcher that has a ton of strikeouts, be aggressive.
Well, aggressive from a hitting standpoint, but what Villa just showcased, being aggressive on the base paths as well. Any extra edge you can gain on this Oklahoma team goes a long way for Texas Tech. That might not show up in the box score as a momentous type play, but now a wild pitch past Bahl pulls you even.
A 1 count here to Bailey. 23 RBIs, 1 ahead of Villa for the team high. She's going to have to battle now with 2 strikes. You see Brito out in left, Coleman the center fielder with Snow in right. Johns, Lyons, Jennings, and Elam around the infield. Just 1-0 here in the bottom of the first inning, and Oklahoma stranded the bases loaded. We'll see Johns, Brito, and Jennings in the top of the second. Two pitch. A little extra oomph. Difference in miles per hour, Chris. Erna Carlin sits in that 61, 62 range, while this entire pitching staff for Oklahoma, Coach Rocha told me, they love to gun it up in practice. 67, 68, 69 if you're on ESPN, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
With those bumped up.
The juiced radar guns,
Absolutely.
right?
1-2. Allie Bailey battling here in this first inning. 20th pitch coming from ball next.
I mean, Texas Tech, not many opponents against Oklahoma have found themselves in a spot here with a runner at third base in the first inning. I mean, this is an accomplishment in itself, believe it or not.
Just 17 earned runs allowed this year for Oklahoma. Bailey gets under one, deep left field. It's going to cut in with the wind as Coleman cuts it off and makes the grab. Texas Tech strands one. Sooners bottom of the lineup coming up when we come back. As you see, a little Rocky Johnson Field headliner as Jana Johns leads it off. A 1-0 Oklahoma lead. And Chris, in that first inning, Carlin a couple strikeouts, a pop out as well. She just was a little nervous, it seemed, against this #1 team.
And she has at times struggled with her command this season, but able to limit the damage. Oklahoma scoring their run without the benefit of a hit. If Erna can just find the strike zone a little bit more, get back to painting those corners as she did in a couple wins last week against Kansas at home, she'll have a chance to bounce back, put up a 0, and get the Tech hitters right back in the batter's box.
Well, that's the third time that we've seen a rise ball pop out of the glove of the super senior transfer in Molly Grumbo. That tells me that maybe a little bit of miscommunication as she wasn't quite expecting something high in the zone. There's a little bit of clarification as Jana Johns here in the bottom of this lineup. It doesn't get much easier for Erna Carlin in the 8th spot as Johns is hitting .314. Redshirt senior third baseman. Carlin able to find the strike zone. Count moves to 2-1. A reminder that our next broadcast right here on Big 12 Now on ESPN Plus comes tomorrow for a mid-afternoon, middle of this series game at 2 o'clock here on the Central Time Zone. Johns quick, even. Pushing the count to 2-2 with Brito on deck. And Jennings in the hole. Erna Carlin has shown a ferocity this season, Chris. We've seen her battling a couple complete games here in the last week and a half with the win on Saturday against Kansas. After getting swept by Oklahoma State on the road 2 weeks ago. Two count. Do it again here. And great crowd here at Rocky Johnson Field today. You can kind of feel the atmosphere. You mentioned the wind last half inning. It's picked up just a little bit, right? About 10 miles an hour at first pitch. It feels like it's getting up there. Not quite what we've seen in Red Raider Classic lore a couple weeks ago. Is that 4 weeks ago? 40-mile-an-hour winds in the UIW game when Incarnate Word fell in 5 innings to this Tech team.
Yeah, Sammy Ward, the Red Raider head coach, talks about using the swirling winds here in West Texas to her team's advantage. They get to practice in these type of conditions just about every other day. So she hopes that it gives Tech an upper hand when big opponents like Oklahoma come to town.
3-2 pitch misses inside, and Jana Johns from 2-0 to 2-2 works the walk to lead off this second.
Oh, and that's already the third walk issued by Carlin in addition to the 2 batters she hit in the first inning. Sammy Ward wants to stick with the freshman, but she's got to start filling up that strike zone a little bit more. Only 1 ball has been put in play, and up steps the 9th hitter to face Erna Carlin.
That's a great point. 9 hitters through the lineup, 2 strikeouts, and a pop-out. That's all we've seen from this Sooner bat. A team that all they do is hit a .387 batting average this season, best in the nation. They've got 293 RBIs with the walk by Coleman in the first. And Alyssa Brito has 21 of those, one of 3 underclassmen in the starting 9 today. Brito came off the bench on Wednesday in the 1 spot for Jennings, picked up a couple hits and an RBI as she looks to bunt, takes high, and the count moves to 2-1 now.
falling behind on these hitters is exactly what Sammy Ward didn't want Erna Carlin to do. You put him in these hitter-friendly counts. If she does start to find the strike zone, you hope that it's not when these hitters are in these 2-1, 2-0 counts.
Yeah, check that 1-1 the count. With Jennings, dangerous bat atop the lineup on deck. Erna Carlin continuing to miss bats, if you want to think about it from a positive side of things for the Texas Tech lineup. We haven't seen many or any hard hit balls yet by the Sooners. Oklahoma avoiding early signs of a look-ahead series. Of course, they'll head down to Austin next weekend for the big Texas-Oklahoma matchup. A pair of teams on their way out of the Big 12 Conference. A date that nobody quite knows when, whether it'll be the 23, the 24 season, their final one here in the Big 12.
Yeah, how strange is that going to be? Oklahoma State not playing in the same conference?
Sounds weird. Texas and Texas Tech not playing in the same conference.
Yeah.
3-1 pitch, driven foul by Brito.
That certainly wasn't a popular move, but I tell you what, Daniel, the Big 12, they're going to be just fine. You look at March Madness the last couple years, Baylor and Kansas back-to-back champions. Here in softball, Tech, they hope to be soon a powerhouse under Sammy Ward. Oklahoma State already a great program. Baylor's made noise in recent memory. So I think the Big 12, even with the big beast departures of OU and Texas, they're going to be just fine.
Inside out swing, Villa goes the easy way, and it works as a sacrifice for Brito. And you mentioned it as well, right? A couple newcomers. We can talk about it kind of later in this weekend if you want to, with BYU, UCF, USF, all kind of planning on joining, which will certainly aid sports like volleyball and softball. Of course, UCF, perennial powerhouse. USF, Ken Erickson, they do a pretty good job down in Tampa as Tiare Jennings comes to the plate, runner at second in the form of Johns. Still looking for the first hit of the game for either squad. Doesn't quite get the borderline call there. It's 2-0 now to Jennings, who struck out swinging in the first inning. She had one of the 5 home runs hit by Oklahoma last May against this Texas Tech team in the second game of the Big 12 tournament. It was an 8-2 Juarez win, propelling Oklahoma to just another typical run through the postseason. It's never easy, is it, for Patty Gasso? They lost the first game in Oklahoma City to James Madison, had to come back and beat JMU twice. Lost the first game to Florida State in the National Championship Series, came back to beat the Seminoles twice.
And they haven't lost since.
Propelling them to that 35-game winning streak. And with a little bit of a meeting in the circle, I should say, it's 3-0. Tight strike zone for Erna Carlin, who has now walked 4 and hit 2. You have to wonder if maybe the former Sooner, Olivia Raines, is getting warmed up. Potentially the Nevada All-Conference transfer in Kendall Fritz here, as Erna Carlin not quite looking like herself through the first time through.
Yeah, and this is what we talked about. You're okay with issuing that one-out walk back in the first inning to Alo, but by being hesitant to throw strikes to Johns and Jennings with the big bats coming up, you've put yourself in an error-free situation, or at least that's what you have to be to get out of this inning unscathed. So many times in her Sooner career, Alo has come up in these situations with traffic on the bases, and she has cleared it in one swing. Erna Carlin doesn't want to walk Alo this time, but you have to be really careful.
And that's where it really comes up for Oklahoma later in the season, into the postseason. Can the bats, Hansen and Snow behind Alo, produce? And we'll see if Jocelyn can see her first strike of this game as a rise ball pops out of the glove of Grumbo. Her throw snagged by a leaping Oric. As the runners are now on the corners, and you mentioned heads-up base running, Jana Johns moves up on what could be either a wild pitch or a pass ball. There, we'll wait to see. Alo ready. Runner goes. The throw is botched, and it heads into center field. More Sooners will score on a little bit of a mistake. We saw the walks in the first inning. I'm not sure there was any plan there by Texas Tech. You sometimes have the shortstop cutting in, second baseman, in fact, cutting in, the pump fake. Molly Grumbo didn't know what to do there and throws it into center field.
Well, it almost takes you by surprise if you're Texas Tech, because with a hitter like Alo at the plate, the last thing you want to do is potentially run into an out on the bases. And Oklahoma, all they've done since Alo stepped into the batter's box this time is step up their base running aggression. They've gone on the move. They've forced a couple of throws, one that has led to a run. Now all of a sudden, Alo's up in a 2-ball, no strike count with a runner at third base, up 2-0. I'm not sure if I'd throw anything good to Alo at this point with that base open.
Doesn't feel like
just put her on.
It doesn't feel like you need to. But right now, for Texas Tech, things are spiraling. I'm sure everything's moving 1,000 miles an hour for the freshman in the circle, and whether Coach Ward is arguing the fact that Jennings should be at third base or not seems to be the case. If anything, this is a bit of a delayed timeout for her freshman in the circle, it seems. Nevertheless, the count is 2-0, and it looks like Jennings is going to stay at third. Wouldn't this be something? You know, the rarity that we saw on Wednesday where Oklahoma had just one extra base hit in a 5-inning win. Well, look at that. They're going to change the count to 1-0 now.
Interesting.
Not quite sure what the reasoning would be to take the pitch off the board. And Alo will swing and lift one into deep center field, and Jocelyn Alo has career home run number 105. It's that easy, Chris.
A cloud scraper. I mean, that was way up there. It was high enough. The question would be, is it far enough? More times than not, when Alo gets one launched and elevated like that, it is high and far enough. And that's why you can't make mistakes ahead of her.
The throwing error by Grumbo led to the second run of the game, and then Oklahoma hits the bash. Oh, we're going to have a little bit of a correction here. Jennings was taken off the base paths.
Runner left
she
early.
left early.
Yeah.
That was just a 2-run home run. The score is now 3-0. So the throw by Grumbo got wiped away. We're just getting told of this now, so we apologize. And then the Alo home run makes it 3-0 that scores Johns.
Yeah, we had it at 2-0. Thought it was 4-0 on the Alo home run. It is a 2-run home run for her.
And now it brings up Kinsey Hansen. She popped out to Villa at second her first time up. Count early ahead in 0-2. So a walk to lead off the inning. Ground out by Brito, and then Jennings, who walked, did not steal second. She left early, and Carlin's control escaping her here in one of the biggest outings of her career. And Kinsey Hansen's going to maybe ask to appeal. See if maybe that pitch got a piece of her. I don't think anything's going to get out of that. Coach Gasso with win number 1,370 on the line today. I was trying to find a good way to say 1370. Decided to go the old-fashioned way. The 6th all-time winningest coach in the history of softball, with Carol Hutchins leading the way atop the board. And so Jennings produced out number 2 because she left early. Now a good curveball seemingly ended the inning, but called just outside 1-2. Well, she was the National Player of the Year for a reason, and the first hit of this ball game, was it going to go to anyone but Jocelyn Alo? Picking up her 17th home run here in game number 34. As Hansen dribbles one to Orick. Her throw on target, and despite all that, Oklahoma
Last is the only hit of the game.
Now we'll see if Texas Tech can produce some offense against the superstar freshman Jordy Ball, who had a leadoff walk worked around in that first, and she'll face a Loyola Marymount transfer in Riley Ellen. Power hitter, in her first couple seasons in the West Coast Conference. 2 home runs this season for the DP for Tech. Right now, Riley, Ellen gonna have to stretch the zone a little bit because when Jordy Ball finds her spot, doesn't seem like the hitters are ready for it.
Jordy Ball, she's not wasting any time attacking these hitters. Since that leadoff walk to Villa, she has often been ahead.
1-1 pitch, borderline, and a call that goes by way of the Raiders there. We've seen a lot of these tight zone calls in the top halves of the inning. Jordy Ball has not missed by too much in the few balls that she's thrown today. 15th start of the year with 5 appearances out of the pen this year for the freshman. A win on Wednesday for Nicole May, who we'll see sometime this weekend along with Troutwine, the North Texas Conference Pitcher of the Year a season ago, a North Texas team that Tech fell in 2 out of 3 in their home opening series.
That's a good program out of CUSA, huh?
3-1 pitch, a late strike call. Ellen was begging for the leadoff walk. Yeah, you mentioned North Texas. We saw a phenomenal pitching by, was it Peters and Savage, the 2 arms for Rodney DeLong's squad back in early March. Complete game shutout, the first shutout of the season, and the first complete game of the season for Erna Carlin as Ellen pops one in foul territory. Johns is there for up number 1.
The wind that has been swirling on and off here through the early innings today. Not too much of a factor right now, or else that's a much tougher play. Johns was able to get under it, shield her eyes from the sunshine with her mitt, and unlike last inning, Jordy Ball keeps that leadoff hitter off base.
Brings up the sophomore third baseman Abby Orick. Orick, Grumbo, and then Love if the inning continues here in the bottom of the second as Oklahoma has scraped across 3 runs with the benefit of just 1 hit, the 2-run blast by Jocelyn Allo in the top of the second inning. I'll tell you what, I can personally be a softball fan at the same time as an objective broadcaster, and as the years go on for me, it's gonna be a fun one to say that I got to watch and call that Jocelyn Allo blast. And I remember Allo as a newcomer, Chris, back in the late 2010s, Oklahoma winning their first championship last year since that 2017 season where so many of these players were just in high school. Instead it was Mendez and Knighton, Avu, winning in 17 innings against the University of Florida, a team that I worked for. In fact, I was a senior in college that year, and I was the radio broadcaster for the Gators, so I got to be on the call for that devastating Shay Knighton winning double in the 17th. I'm sure all you Sooner fans remember very fondly. 1-2 count coming for Orick with 1 out in the second. Texas Tech offense has been able to battle a little bit. Just 1 strikeout, that was Peyton Jackson in the first. A little extra confidence in the circle shown by Jordy Ball here. She's made just 1 outing in conference play in her career, Chris. Wasn't a bad one, as Ball was able to shut down Baylor a few weeks ago. 5 innings, 1 run, and a 9-1 win as their strikeout number 2 out here in the second.
Well, we talked about how much talent Texas Tech has at the top of the order and how much success many of those hitters have had. You look at 1 through 4 in the lineup, everybody hovering around 300. Peyton Jackson, Carson Armijo, Ellie Bailey way north of 300. But it's going to be this bottom portion of the order that makes the difference if Tech is to compete this weekend against Oklahoma. You need the Oryx, the Grumbos, the Loves, the Blythe to not only get on base, but work good plate appearances and at-bats against Jordy Ball. Put some stress on the freshman who's had a mostly stress-free start to her college career.
Well, a lot of the stress that has come to the behest of Jordy Ball this season has been situations like that, where Troy Kokendall behind home plate most likely just issued her a warning for illegal pitching, and they have to redo the pitch, and Orick goes down on strikes. And talking to different pitchers around the league this season, it's not unknown that Jordy Ball can skip a little bit off of the rubber. Even on that pitch, borderline, And I think they might have called it again as Coach Rocha comes out to talk to DJ Postel.
Yeah, they did. They just put one on there, and you know, if you're going to throw this freshman out of her rhythm, this might be a way to do it. It's almost like holding in football. It happens on every play, right? It's just a matter of when it does and when it doesn't get called. And that might not be the best comparison, but it happens a lot with Jordy Bahl. It's just a matter of, is it that blatantly obvious where you have to call it? And apparently on the last two, it has been that obvious for this umpiring crew.
And even more importantly for Oric, both of them balls. So the count is full now as this game continues to add wacky quirks. As Oric drives one deep, right center field. That'll careen off the bottom of the wall. A 1-out, 2-bagger. Take number 3 after a pair of strikeouts.
Well, you talk about a momentum shift. Instead of 2 outs with the bases empty, Oric not only makes ball through a few more pitches, but she gets one to drive on 3 and 2, shoots it to the gap. We talked about it, how imperative it is for the bottom portion of this Tech order to have some success to hang with Oklahoma this weekend. A great at-bat put together by Abby Oric.
I'll tell you what, Chris, there is no doubts that Jordy Bahl has unhittable stuff, and maybe had that call gone Oklahoma's way, she might have been on her way to what could have been a third no-hitter, but instead it's Molly Grumbo. All-conference nod as a member of LMU. Very tough season it's been for this senior catcher, changing locations, changing home bases, hitting just under the Mendoza line this season with 5 RBIs in her 81 at-bats. Looking to strike here for Tech in the bottom of the second inning. A 1 pitch driven, just foul over the leaping glove of Johns. For those who may not be 100% sure of what we're talking about with the illegal pitching, it's as simple as this. The foot of the pitcher has to stay on the ground at all times. You've got to drag that back toe throughout your pitching motion. You can't leap or skip, a la, I'll make the reference, Kelly Barnhill, right back in that 2017 season, that Coach Rocha was the pitching coach for the #1 Florida Gators team that fell to Oklahoma. And so with good contact by Grumbo, it'll bring out Jen Rocha, who Coach Gasso sniped from Tim Walton a few years ago. Big part of drawing in Giselle Juarez, leading Oklahoma to that national championship last year. And when I asked Rocha a couple days ago on a phone call what the biggest difference is between this Oklahoma team and some of those Stacey Nelson Florida teams, or Delaney Gorley, the back end of her career, she said it's a lot of the similarities, except there's a little bit more air of dominance now that you know that you're going to go to Oklahoma City in the championship week and play in front of all of your home fans, Chris. Such a huge advantage. Of course, the Big 12 tournament as well in OGE Energy Field. And you know, Oklahoma fans, they even travel down here to Lubbock.
Oh, yeah, you could hear them when the Sooners put together good at-bats and make good plays.
Ball in the dirt. Oric gets caught. She will run in front of the throw. It leaks into center. Abby Oric is headed for home. She redecides. Now in another rundown. And Oric gets tagged out as Oklahoma puts on, at first, a defensive nightmare turned into a defensive clinic for the second out, which was maybe all predetermined for Oric to get out.
Yeah, well, all predetermined perhaps for Abby Oric to force that throw that it looked like it was going to be a good thing for Texas Tech, but the hesitation as she came around third, Randy Ward held up the stop sign there, and Abby Oric runs into the second out of the inning, and now Oklahoma strike away.
1-2 count coming to Molly Grumbo now with 2 outs, as we've seen both teams pick up base running blunders. Johns tested for the second time, and she picks up the third out of the inning. Oklahoma 3-0.
Well, it's Taylon Snow, the Oklahoma cleanup hitter, leading off the top of the third. Sooners scored once in the first, twice in the second, and earned a Carlin's 54th pitch. There's a called strike 1. Snow, Lyons, and Coleman scheduled to hit the middle of the order for the top-ranked Sooners. Snow hit by a pitch her only time, one of 2 hits batsmen in that first inning. And she sends a drive to center. Hit well. Peyton Blythe to the wall. She caught it! Home run robbery! What a play by Peyton Blythe. 1 out. She just took a solo shot away from Taylon Snow.
Well, we talk about Texas Tech's defense, Chris. It was Demi Elder against Washington that made that phenomenal SportsCenter top 10 grab over the fence in right field. And I'll tell you what, cue it up ESPN tonight, because that was the catch of the season for Tech, better than the Demi Elder one, especially against number 1 OU.
Wow. Here's a drive to right field. I don't think anybody's going to catch this one. Grace Lyons, the opposite way. 4-0 Sooners.
Well, Kansas hit 8 home runs in just the Friday-Sunday games against Texas Tech, and you had a feeling the home run ball was going to be the difference maker in this series. 2 swings, what could have been 2 home runs. And I don't think the Sooners are going to lose any sleep on that robbery by Blythe as Grace Lyons takes advantage on the first swing. How about 85 home runs in 34 games?
Yeah, and that's why it's so important to mow down the hitters first time through the order. Second time around, it's just too much talent to go around for this Oklahoma bunch. They always seem to put together better at-bats. Second, third time they see an arm in a single game, and boy, second time through the order, Alo homered. Snow would have homered if it wasn't for Peyton Blythe, and Grace Lyons quickly erased that highlight reel catch with her opposite blast.
Well, both Snow and Lyons were hit by a pitch in that first inning, so clearly they came back with a little bit of vengeance. They were both swinging early. See Jada Coleman looking to bunt, a slap-hitting lefty. And for an Oklahoma lineup that was so dependent on those slapping Mendezes over the last decade, to only have 1 slap hitter in the lineup shows a little bit more of what Coach Gasso has brought to the table. The stand-in, and even in that at-bat and that pitch, Coleman was able to hold her ground and try to swing away. All she has is 5 home runs this year. That would lead the Texas Tech team, tied with Villa.
Yeah, so much talent, so much power to go around. Sammy Ward says, look, for me to get this program towards the top of the Big 12, I can't expect to out-recruit a program like Oklahoma. We have to get creative here at Texas Tech to get this program where we want it to be. And in year 2, Ward is trying to figure out how to compete with powers like this. Slow dribbler, Ariana Villa's way, and not in time. Coleman beats it out.
Right when that ball was hit, and you mentioned the slapping style, she's on the way to first base already. It needed a lot more aggressiveness from Villa at second. She needed to charge, lunge, maybe even dive and flip it over to even have a chance against the speedy sophomore out in center. And this is where things get very tough. When you're Erna Carlin, you have to almost pitch backwards. Like when you, this is going to be as wild of an analogy as it gets, but if you're talking to somebody who can read your mind, you almost have to do things that you wouldn't think. Facing this Oklahoma lineup, you have to throw pitches that they wouldn't expect you to throw, and therefore you wouldn't expect yourself to throw. And that kind of goes into that missing zones effectively topic that Coach Ward told us.
Yeah, and it's worked for Erna Carlin. She was in a lot of 3-2 counts last week against Kansas, still found a way to win 2 of those games. Much different beast in the Oklahoma Sooners this weekend, and that's a ripped foul off the bat of Lindsey Elam. Elam struck out looking to end the top half of the first. Closest anybody's been to Oklahoma this year. Got to go back to the pre-Big 12 portion of the schedule when Utah hung around at a neutral site and fell short against the Sooners by a final of 2-1. UAB was close last week in Norman, and one of a couple of games as Oklahoma played non-conference competition at their Big 12 bye week. It's going to get back into the crowd, and you get a look at a pretty packed house at Rocky Johnson. A lot of Sooner fans, a lot of Red Raider fans. It's a busy weekend here at Tech. Baseball, 4th-ranked team in the country. Across the way from here, they're hosting Kansas State tonight in the opener of a 3-game Big 12 series. So Lots going on this weekend. There's tennis as well. Oklahoma, Texas Tech, and tennis squaring off. No shortage of a high-level competition in West Texas this weekend. There comes a 1-ball, 2-strike pitch, and the count's level.
I think that's a pitch that Erda Carlin needs to go back to a little bit more. I like the 2-strike changeup. It's not something that Carlin's been able to pitch with too much confidence this season. A little bit more of a contact pitcher, averaging just about a strikeout an inning. We'll see if the defense can pick her up. You know that this game is hanging in the balance of one or two miscues defensively, and we saw a miscue offensively on the base paths that really could have twisted this game with Abby Orrick running herself into that second out of the bottom of the second. But so many times we've seen this season Oklahoma get the benefit of a mistake. They walked off in Game 3 against Baylor. Bears had a big error late in that game as well.
Swing and a miss. Runner takes off for second, and it's a whoa! I was about to say it to strike him out, throw him out, double play. Apparently, Riley Love missed the tag, but immediately signaled towards the Tech dugout that the umpires should head to the replay iPad here, and immediately out comes Sammy Ward. She's
coach in college softball. The call is safe. And because I'm asking, you may know this answer. Do you know who number 1 is? The active winningest coach percentage-wise in college softball.
Down south, right?
How south?
Well, like Florida.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah. Tim Walton, number
Walton.
1.
That was my guess.
Of course.
I was just trying to see if I was warm enough.
The Oklahoma Sooner baseball star.
Yeah, how those two are intertwined, right? With the ex-pitching coach now on staff at Oklahoma, and Coach Walton, a proud OU alum. So, indeed, it was a heck of a slide from Jada Coleman, who steals her 10th base. It gives Johns a chance, but she pops up the first pitch she sees, and after all that, Oklahoma settles for the 1 run on the opener of a 3-game Big 12 series. Riley Love, the Tech shortstop, leads off the home half of the 3rd, and after the first pitch, she bounces it foul. Love, a 149 hitter, 10 hits and 67 at-bats. 2 doubles, 1 triple, 1 homer, 5 RBIs. She'll be followed by Peyton Blythe, then back to the top of the order. Ariana Villa scheduled to hit 3rd against the freshman. Ball, the Gatorade National Softball Player of the Year in high school. And she has made the transition to Division I softball look easy. With a sub-1 earned run average, her perfect 14-0 record. She's also picked up a save. We mentioned those gaudy strikeout and walk numbers in more than 80 innings. Tech has had a couple of base runners early, but Red Raiders have not been able to capitalize. As Love swings and misses, 1 ball, 2 strikes.
40 pitches now for Ball, 25 of them strikes. You mentioned working around the leadoff walk to Villa, who hits 3rd in this inning. And then that controversial double strikeout double by Abby Orrick, and she ran out of that jam in the 2nd.
Swing and a miss. Riley Love cuts through the rise ball, and it's Jordy Ball's 2nd punch out.
Preseason All-American. How about that? Coming in as a freshman and getting a preseason All-American nod.
He ain't even stepped in between the lines yet.
It was,
and you're giving an All-American.
I was about to say, it was
wow.
2nd team, right? You've got Allo, Coleman, Hanson, and Jennings were pre-first team, and then Troutwine and Ball. And that's just when the pundits know. When you're a 2-time Gatorade Player of the Year, National Player of the Year, number 1 recruit, usually things go pretty well for you. And already, a 16 strikeout outing in the win over UCLA, 14 Ks in the 1 blunder that she saw against Tennessee. The only outing of the year for Ball, allowing more than an earned run. We're watching something special here with this freshman.
Yeah, they mentioned that Tennessee start, pitched 8 1/3 innings in that game. Swing and a miss, Peyton Blythe. Quickly a 0-2 hole. Senior from Hugh Springs in Texas. 256 hitter with 4 doubles, 3 homers, 10 RBIs. Spectacular catch in the top half of this inning, taking a home run away from Taylon Snow. Might see that on television later. I think you should. if it gets into the right hands in time, right?
All about connections, isn't it, Chris?
When it comes down to that stuff, it seems like it. See a lot of plays on the internet these days that don't make it to linear for the top 10, and certainly hope that SportsCenter's peeping around this Big 12 contest. Here comes the 1-2, and it's swung on and missed. Back-to-back strikeouts. And 3 of them now for Jordy Ball this afternoon. 2 outs, the base is empty. Tech will turn things back to the top of the order. Ariana Villa, who worked a walk back in the first.
And you almost feel like the opportunity to hit a pitcher comes and goes, right? Whether it's baseball or softball, they've got that loose spot. Sometimes it's late in the game as well, but it felt like in this one for Texas Tech, their best chances came with a runner at third and 2 outs in the first for Ellie Bailey, and then Orick, who was at third, had she halted with 1 out for Grumbo. But Jordy Ball has gotten into a groove. She's not throwing a lot of pitches that are meaty, and the strikes she's throwing have been locked in.
0-1 pitch to Ariana Villa. And able to hold up on that rise. They will appeal. No swing. Villa, the sophomore, she was an all Big 12 freshman selection last year. .290 batting average. And a great table setter to top the order for Tech. Off speed, 1 ball, 2 strikes.
Just feels a bit like the swings this inning from Texas Tech are losing a little luster, isn't it? Ariana Villa so locked in on the outer corner, pulls the front shoulder away on that screwball off the outer half. You can go anywhere here if you're Ball.
Now off the end of the bat, rolled softly to Jennings, and a 1-2-3 inning for the first time tonight. The Sooners have a 4-0 lead. Alyssa Brito takes strike 1. Brito, Jennings, and Alo. Brito bounced out to Ariana Villa at second base back in the second inning. 1 ball, 1 strike. So Carlin now in 3+ innings is at 70 pitches. Went well over the century mark in a complete game victory over Kansas 8 days ago. Bounce towards the right side. Villa has some trouble with it. And Brito reaches. And even if fielded cleanly, a tough play for the Tech second baseman to make. We'll see how the official score rules it, but Oklahoma has a leadoff base runner for a second time tonight.
Yeah, curious to see what the call is there. And we talked about last inning, Chris, you're going to have a chance to make some big plays defensively if you're Tech. And if you bobble, miscue, anything, that's going to go in as an infield single. But if you ask Ariana,
right,
she'll say she'll make that play 8 out of 10. And in order to get a clean inning and get back to the bottom of the half, you have to make those kind of outs defensively against a team like this.
Well, you talk about the margin for error being so slim against this top-ranked Oklahoma team. You have to make the extra effort and sometimes make the plays you aren't necessarily supposed to, as that's sent down the left field side, but ruled foul. 1 ball, 1 strike. Jennings, in 2 plate appearances, has yet to put it in play. Struck out swinging leading off the game and then walked her last time. Two balls, 1 strike. Jennings batting average just south of 400 this year. Big power out of the leadoff spot. She's launched 13 homers, 40 batted in, and 89 at bats. Reaches for this one and pops it up. Villa has a chance to double off the runner, and they do. I don't know if Brito just lost sight of the ball or where it was going, or perhaps something was said by the right side of Tech's infield that fooled the base runner, but it's a double play.
Well, you're very kind, Chris, to write that off for Alyssa at first. I think maybe just your old-fashioned brain fart. Didn't know how many outs there were, and you just started running. And what that does is it brings up Aloe at the plate with nobody on. And now you can be a little bit more cautious to Jocelyn, who's already smashed one today.
Yeah, that one didn't quite make it. And now time is called. Little conference here.
Yeah, wherever Coach Gasso is, all the way down there to make sure that Alo doesn't smack her on a line drive.
You're an Oklahoma fan, you cherish these moments with these two together. Alo, the greatest home run hitter in the history of college softball, and of course the Oklahoma legendary coach, has changed the culture of Sooner softball forever and has Oklahoma undefeated right now, perfect 33-0. But you mentioned it. If Texas Tech is to give Jocelyn Alo something good to hit this weekend, it's going to be with nobody on base. She has walked and hit a 2-run homer. 105 last time. A moonshot to left center. And Carlin pulls even with the outside corner strike. It's 1-1.
That's a really tight curveball, not the common curve that we've seen from Carlin this season. And something tells me that maybe the adrenaline, maybe knowing that she's trying to get some revenge on Alo, has her up a couple miles per hour on that. And I like the decision to go back to the changeup and really vary the speeds here against as veteran of a bat as it gets.
Alo, left field, on its way. And foul.
Oh, in 80 at-bats this season. Oh, and they're going to give it to her.
Not foul.
Without review. Just a discussion.
Well, she's hit a whole lot of those.
Home runs in 32 games last year out of 60. Of course, that crazy hit streak, Chris, that stretched 40 games. And all she's done this year is create this traveling show where no matter where she goes, whether it's Hawaii or Lubbock, everyone wants to watch the show. And we get a first row seat.
What a treat. Kenzie Hansen now, hitless in 2 at-bats.
Tell you what, Chris, offers don't come too often.
Nice effort from Ellie Bailey, but she couldn't get there in time.
And the combo of Elam and Hansen, I'm not sure, just gonna go out on a limb, you know, you got a pair of upperclassmen there. Maybe 1 or 2 games ever that the two of them have combined for 0 hits. And so there are minor victories if Erna Carlin can get out of this inning. I assume her day will be done. You don't want to face the meat of that lineup that just hit back-to-back home runs off of you again.
2 balls, 1 strike to Hansen. Five nothing. The Sooners have struck for at least a run in all 4 at-bats. Series opener, Oklahoma has not lost in Lubbock since 2011, more than a decade ago. 3 balls, 1 strike with Taylon Snow on deck. She's the cleanup hitter for the Sooners.
She's the one that got the home run robbed last inning.
And a full count. Texas Tech will send up their big hitters come the bottom half of this inning. Jackson Armijo, Ellie Bailey scheduled. Here comes a full count pitch from Carlin. And it's rolled to short. Riley Love bobbles and out. And the hit. Jordy Ball has given up just 1 hit through 3 shutout innings so far. And Peyton Jackson, the Red Raiders' top hitter in the batting average department, takes a called strike. She struck out swinging her only time in the first. Ball has picked up 3 strikeouts through her first 3 innings in Lubbock. Right back to her. 1 out.
Well, it's just 5-0, but with Snow, Lyons, Coleman, Elam Johns, the whole lineup coming to the plate in the top of the 5th inning, it feels like this is the must score and must get back into the game inning for Texas Tech. You know, you've got Jackson, of course, now with 1 out, it's Armijo and then Bailey, and they just weren't able to do much. Ellie Bailey picked up 4 of the team's 8 hits in Stillwater a few weeks ago, but you need a little bit more than just a routine single every once in a while. That was a vicious cut by the UCLA transfer, and I think Tech needs to see a little bit more of these big power hitters trying to connect. But Jordy Ball has been able to miss all of the power bats, including the Bruins lineup earlier in the season.
Carson Armijo able to barrel it up, and she shoots it past the diving Johns. Texas Tech has a 1-out hit in the home half of the 4th.
And Chris, this is where we're going to see. Demi Elder was unavailable last week. And this is where we're going to see whether Elder is available, because she's been pinch running for Armijo all season long and then filing into right field.
So Armijo with the second Tech hit, and here's the cleanup hitter, Ellie Bailey. That's fouled off the glove of Hanson. 0-1.
Bailey's one of the few players that actually got a hit against Oklahoma last season. 1-for-3 game in OKC back in May.
That just got under a fly ball her first time. It fell shy of the warning track in left center back in the first inning against Jordy Ball. There's Carson Armijo. She reached with 1 out. Texas Tech has had 3 base runners through 3+ innings against the freshman. 0-2 pitch. And Bailey reaches for it, stays alive, taps it foul.
More from Coach Rocha, talking about this freshman who is such a unique talent. Of course, started her career here with 30 straight innings without an earned run back in February. And the one thing that Coach Rocha loves about Jordy Ball is her ability to command both in, out, down, and up. She says not many freshmen come into the circle, as here we're going to have miscommunication leading to the end of the inning, but not many come into the circle, Chris, and just know exactly what to do at every point. And I think that's the end of the inning, isn't it?
That should be. Peyton Jackson bounced out to start the frame.
No, Lyons and Coleman coming to the plate. And first pitch swinging, Snow trying to get a little redemption. Blythe gets her again! Oh! Taylon Snow was robbed of a home run in the 3rd. She's robbed of an extra base hit by PB out in center. Well, that's going to keep this game within striking distance for the time being. There's out number 1 here in the 5th. I'll let the fans' reaction and the gasp from the Sooner faithful tell the story there, as Grace Lyons didn't risk anything on her long ball in the 3rd inning. She's 1 for 1 today with a hit by pitch as well. Now, Lyons is usually the one taking hits away from opponents, last year's Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year. And following in another miraculous grab by Peyton Blythe out in center field. Lyons will look to repeat and set the table here with 1 out in the 5th.
I tell you what, we better see that first home run robbery on our televisions later tonight, but perhaps they throw that one in there as well, because those are two spectacular plays made by a really good defensive center fielder.
Well, Lions will not leave any doubt once again. Snagged by the bullpen, and Oklahoma takes a 6-0 lead on their 4th home run by 2 players today, Allo and Lyons, and it's 6-0.
Well, the long ball can hurt you, especially against this Oklahoma bunch. How about the night of multi-home run games? Allo with 2, and now Grace Lyons with 2.
And that'll be it for Erna Carlin. We'll step away as Texas Tech makes a change. Morgan Hornback, who just made that great catch on the Lions home run. Super senior righty will come in when we come back. Well, the new pitcher for Texas Tech is the senior righty out of Oregon City, Oregon. And it's Morgan Hornback, Chris, who will come in and has one important job, and that's certainly to keep Oklahoma from getting to that 8-run mercy rule territory here in the 5th inning. She'll take on Jada Coleman, Lindsey Elam here with 1 out in the 5th.
Yeah, Sammy Ward said, we need everybody to be ready to throw against Oklahoma this weekend. And this is the second Tech pitcher in this game. Also have Olivia Raines, who may ring a bell to Sooner fans.
Coleman pops one out to second, and Ariana Villa is there for out number 2. Final line on Carlin, Chris. 6 earned, 5 hits, 4 walks, and the 2 hit by pitches certainly plagued the freshman.
Yeah, and that first inning, giving up a run without the benefit of a hit. 2 walks, 2 hit batters. Perhaps she controls the strike zone a little bit better, throws up a 0. It sets the tone moving forward, but Oklahoma got through much of their lineup in that first inning without picking up a hit.
Pinch hitter here for Oklahoma. And we're going to see Riley Boone, junior left-handed hitter out of Tulsa, come in. Hitting for Elam in the 7th spot here with 2 outs against Hornback. Slapper the other way off the diving glove of Love. And Oklahoma has that clinching run at the plate here in the 5th. We'll see if Jana Johns will come up. There's the 6th hit of the game. That's it for Oklahoma. It hasn't quite been the showcase offensively from a hits category like they did on Wednesday against Tulsa. Just the long balls. 4 of them matching the total from Kansas a week ago today against Tech.
Well, Tech was able to overcome that and win their series opener in a fun 12-9 game a week ago here against the Jayhawks, but it has been tough against Ball on the other side.
First pitch swinging Johns with Brito waiting on deck. 5, 6, 7 due up for Tech in the bottom half. Ellen, Orick, and Grumbo. Johns 0 for 1. Walked and scored on that Allo home run in the 2nd. fishtails outside. Well, we'll lace them up again tomorrow right here on ESPN Plus. 2 o'clock first pitch. You want to go ahead and make a guess? Let's guess it's Troutwine against Fritz, a pair of veteran transfers for the storylines.
We'll just have to wait and see. But not a bad bet.
Oh, Hornback comes in and plunks Johns, putting 2 on with 2 out for the 9-hitter. And Oklahoma will earn a couple ice baths after getting hit by now 3 pitches today. There's speed at second base in the form of the pinch hitter Boone. John's the trail runner here for Brito, who had an infield single back in the 4th. Originally called a single, actually changed to an error. So Brito 0 for 2 today, which has been the only error of the ball game to date. She made the base running blunder on the pop-up by Jennings that truly wound up being costly in front of Alo, who hit her second home run. A 1 pitch coming to the Oklahoma 9-hitter, and Morgan Hornback 1 strike away from sending Tech to the bottom half without as much pressure as it could be if it was 8-0. But still down to your final 9 outs.
Yeah, you got to make something happen with the bats here in this next half inning if you're Texas Tech. No question.
Oh, 2 pitch. Oh, a great take by the sophomore left fielder. An Oregon transfer who was all-conference last year in the Pac-12. Started the season on the bench, but Brito has been a mainstay here in the second half of this season, as good pickup behind home plate by Grumbo keeps the runners at bay, and the count evens up 2-2. Well, you know, I wonder if Bailey and Johns are cutting it up over at first, a pair of Gamecocks, played together out in Columbia. Now both runners will be on the move, as Morgan Hornback, who has struggled with her zone at times this season, has a 4.80 ERA, 20 innings, 9 strikeouts, or 9 walks, I should say. Jennings, who's 0 for 2 today, waiting on deck. 3-2. We'll do it again.
Just a great piece of hitting by Brito, seeing more and more pitches from Hornback. That only helps her teammates who are watching on from the dugout. You know, Jennings on deck, and then if we get past her, yeah. I think that is sufficient enough.
Three-two pitch again, and it's laced off of the glove of Villa. Everybody is safe. Oklahoma stays vigilant and aggressive as Johns moves to third. Boone scores, and it's 7-0.
Oh, a heck of an effort. Ariana Villa prevented that one from scooting out to Carson Armijo in right field. But I tell you what, Oklahoma, they are just so heads up around the bases, able to score from second on an infield knock. And now you turn things back to the top of the order with a chance to really send this game into a different feel.
22nd RBI of the season for Brito, and before Jennings comes to the plate, how often do you see these lengthy conversations in a blowout? But this game means a little bit more at 7-0 for those unfamiliar. You have that 8-run mercy rule after 5 innings. And Oklahoma is hoping to get back to the hotel, rest and recoup. Their baseball team in action tonight. Catch a little Sooner ball on TV. I mentioned it earlier, 82% of the Sooner games this year have been run rule victories. Now it's in the hands of Tiare Jennings. See if the runner's off from first. Jennings will swing at the first pitch. She strikes one into deep left field. Jennings has home run number 14 and propels Oklahoma to that 8-run advantage. It's 10-zip. Well, Chris, I mentioned that baseball game tonight. That's at 6 o'clock in Stillwater for Oklahoma. So that'll be a fun weekend. And should the Sooners pitching hold up, they'll be able to maybe catch the back half of that game.
Yeah, but for top-ranked Oklahoma, they have done it with the long ball again. They're 5th, and somebody other than Alo and Lyons leaves the ballpark.
Now Morgan Hornback will have to face Alo. And this has been quite the season for Oklahoma home run games, whether they be 2 home run games, 3 home run games. This is their 12th game this year, Chris, with 4 or more home runs in one contest. Second home run of the inning, that's happened 19 times now for OU. And absolutely a huge shout out to the SID for Oklahoma and Patrick Dunn for scraping up these fantastic tidbits for us. As Alo takes outside for the second straight pitch. A walk on 4 pitches in the first inning. 2-run shot in the second. And then a foul line scraper in the in the fourth for Alo. This is just game 1 of the series. We'll see how many big flies Oklahoma can put together this weekend with games on Saturday and Sunday here in Lubbock. 3-0. Count moves to 3-1. Ellen Orick Grumbo needing to get at least 3 runs in the bottom half to keep this game going. Oh, a called strike. And the count fills up. Just 2 hits surrendered by Jordy Ball today. Alo trying to add 1 more insurance run. As she strikes 1. Straight away left field. A trio of jacks for the GOAT. It's 11-zip Oklahoma. Look at that smile, contagious. Hard not to like it. Hard not to like her.
There are a lot of hats in West Texas. And for Jocelyn Alo, how about a hat trick in the series opener?
Well, 3rd home run of the inning for OU. Willis will try to provide a little bit of sustenance in the circle, needing just 1 out. And facing the 9th hitter of the lineup for Oklahoma in Kinsey Hansen, as the Sooners hitting around here in this 5th inning. Willis faced a couple hitters a few weeks ago in Stillwater, walked both of them, and was taken out. 6th appearance of the season for the freshman. After Hornback allowed a pair of long balls, 5 runs in a 1/3 of an inning for Morgan Hornback with 4 hits and a hit by pitch. Hansen takes at the knees, and it's 2-1. And is anybody surprised with the result that we're seeing here with a Sooner team that has had their off days, right? Last weekend against UAB, scoreless through 5 innings, got a couple of home runs in the 6th for a 2-0 win against the Blazers. And now they will hit all the way around as Taylon Snow, who was robbed of what was just shy of a home run to start this 5th, she'll come up with a runner at first as Hansen picks up her first hit of the day.
Well, and how about all the damage done with 2 outs? How close Via was to ending this inning, making that diving play on the line drive that just popped out of her glove and caromed a few feet away. I tell you, this Oklahoma team, a real crooked number inning. Just 1 in the first, 2 in the second, 1 in the third, 1 in the fourth. They kept putting the pressure on Tech, but this has been the knockout punch inning for Oklahoma.
So a pinch runner for the Sooners, as you can see Hannah Kaur out there. We'll see if Snow will even hit here. And yes, Snow will hit with a pair of F8 with a couple exclamation points on my scorebook here for her. And Snow trying to swing for the fences, pops one into the glove of Riley Love. But Oklahoma gets the job done through 4 innings. And now her offense has exploded to give her a whole lot of comfort. 3 outs away from closing out the opening game of this series as Riley Ellen, who popped out in her first at-bat, will lead off this inning with Abby Orrick, Molly Grumbo to follow. It's a good take inside. Ball's allowed a couple hits, a walk as well in this contest. Has 4 strikeouts. If you ask Coach Rocha, she'd say she has 5 strikeouts and just 1 hit allowed. But of course there was that wacky Orrick at bat in the second, as Ellen stripes 1, but well foul. Back at it tomorrow at 2, and then Sunday at noon, before both of these teams have pivotal road series, as Oklahoma heads down to Austin. Texas Tech out to Ames for a matchup with Iowa State, a team that nearly took down Texas in the first game of their series last week, as Ellen goes down on strikes. 5th K of the game. 5 different players have struck out now against Ball. If you're just tuning in, this game started very unorthodox, with Oklahoma loading the bases and scoring a run without a ball put in play from any of those 4 hitters. A walk, 2 hit by pitches, an RBI walk by Coleman. Then Jocelyn Allo hit a home run, but not before Jennings was called out for leaving first early on a double steal that netted a run from Johns, who had to go back to third. So instead of a 4-0 advantage, it was 3-0 Oklahoma on Allo's 105th home run of her storied career. Her 17th of the season. Then a solo shot by Lyons after Snow's home run attempt was robbed in the third. 5-0 Oklahoma. A wild pop-up double play as Brito was sleeping in the 4th. Then Allo hit her 18th home run of the season to make it 6-0. And then the 5th, where a couple singles, a hit by pitch, led to the back-to-back jacks by Jennings and Allo after Lyons hit her second solo shot, and that's where we stand 11-0. As this one dribbles foul, and the count stays 0-2 to the sophomore third baseman. Orrick, 270 hitter. Sure, Coach Ward and Miller will get back to the lab tonight and work on things moving into tomorrow, but Ball's been able to do it all.
Yeah.
She's made a couple assists, now will put out on the pop-up, and there's 2 down in the 5th.
Yeah, she makes it almost look effortless with what she does there in the circle. And Daniel, while this game might end a little bit ahead of schedule tonight, there is a packed softball schedule on the docket this weekend. A top 5 matchup in Tallahassee that has a lot of eyes on it. In fact, it's the highest ever ranked on ranked matchup in ACC history right now. Really good one. Virginia Tech at Florida State, tied at 2. Getting late in Tallahassee. And remember what the Seminoles did earlier this week in the Sunshine State Showdown, going to Gainesville and beating Florida in extra innings. So Oklahoma, they know Florida State all too well from an epic Women's College World Series matchup last year. They could very well see them again come June.
Hey, don't count out Coach Walton's Gators. A rematch of 2017 as well. But no, you're right. That was a phenomenal finish earlier this week in the Sunshine State Showdown, Chris. But yes, as a Florida Gator alum, that was a tough one to swallow. Nevertheless, Jordy Bowl 1 strike away from another complete game shutout. And, oh, where's the call? Guess we're gonna wait and see another one. One and two the count here to Molly Grumbo. Grumbo strikes one out to left field. It's got some carry, but in the ballpark for Brito. 4th shutout of the season for Jordy Bowl. 28th run rule win for the 34-0 Sooners, who move to 4-0 in the Big 12. Texas Tech falls to 2-5 as the Sooners will take their 36-game winning streak into tomorrow's matchup as Jocelyn Alo hits 3 home runs. She now has 19 to lead the nation, with 2 more by Lyons, who has 15 right behind her.